Hello, welcome to Monday night's Hotline Live with Record Sport. My name is Daniel Combe. Delighted as ever to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how goes it?
Daniel, what?
How's things?
How's things? All right, very, very busy, and I'm actually cooking a salsiccia risotto later on, and I'm busting to go and do that. So if we can just make this quick, Dan, I don't think there's much happening anyway, is
What time? What time do you want me round?
there?
And I've got two words for you actually. Rustler burger. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know if I'm meant to feel sorry for you about that, and bear in mind that nobody likes a spare wheel. So
That's
if we
true.
can just crack on, Dan, whenever you're ready.
Well, aye, it's been a busy day in Scottish football as it usually is at this
Yep.
time of year, and the only place to start, Keith, I think, is Rangers. Pretty seismic news coming out of Rangers today. Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, they've left the building.
Yeah, it's all happening. We'll even get an update with the Celtic new manager situation, which we'll bring later in the show, Dan. But yeah,
Yep.
chaos at Rangers, and I think good chaos, not before time chaos. Exactly the kind of chaos that was really required from Andrew Cavenagh and Parag Marath. Um, they've obviously billeted their chief executive Patrick Stewart, the sporting director Kevin Thelwell, and not a moment too soon. These guys, Hoddit and Doddit, have been presiding over an absolute bin fire since I don't know, since the end of last season. Some really odd decision making, some incredible appointments made, an absolute write off of a transfer window which cost millions. Yeah, and do you know what? Kudos to Andrew Cavenagh, because we're saying that this has been ongoing, and it has been going on for some considerable time. And I think it was easy to identify at the start. And Daniel, what's my phrase? What was the phrase that I said to you from day one? I don't know how many times I've had to repeat it.
It was always going to get
It,
a bit worse.
it will always get a bit, it's always going to get worse before it get any better. And I think a lot of that was based around how long will it take them to identify the issues that they've got inside their own build. And Kevin Thelwell, I think, was chief among them. It's hard to think of anything really that he got right. I think his judgment's all over the place. Um, Pretty much an unmitigated disaster, and that stretches back to the way that he mishandled the recruitment process for a new manager. I think he totally botched that, and then ended up delivering Russell Martin. That was another incredible misstep. And by the way, at that point, it becomes a sacking offence. So everything that then happened after Russell Martin, it was only just going to be a matter of how much patience, how much time the
Mhm.
Americans were going to have. And I think that the end was inevitable. What I would say is it does feel as if it's stretched out, but really in relative terms, it's not that long. The American owners have only been in 6 months.
Yeah.
They've made a real big couple of decisions here. And I think that will give the Rangers support out there a bit of hope, because I think the fear for them, the concern for them was, how can you guys not see what we're all seeing? But they've acted swiftly, decisively, ruthlessly. And now I think the key part is that was the easy bit. I guess reaching the conclusion that these guys weren't fit for purpose was the easy bit. The hard bit's going to be making sure that they find, source real, credible, professional leaders that are capable of taking Rangers on to the next level. And if they can do that, Dan, then they've addressed all the key fundamental issues that needed addressed and that have been needing addressed at Ibrox for some considerable time. And that puts them in a strong place, actually.
Yeah.
You look at what's going on with the turmoil at Celtic, and I think everybody, to a man, will said it's difficult to understand how that situation resolves itself.
Yeah.
What the direction is for Celtic, with a principal owner that has no intention of giving up any sort of power and a support which is now in full-scale rebellion against him. Meanwhile, him and his son are running about machine gunning everybody at AGMs. So these are really complex issues that Celtic need to try and navigate their way through. Rangers, on the other hand, if they get these appointments right, they're in a really solid position. I mean, they're still years behind Celtic in terms of what's going on the pitch, but this would be a really significant step forward, just so long as they do hire the right people. Now, I've written a piece that's been up online, and the one bit of caution, the one bit of advice I would offer to Andrew Cavenagh, Parag, which I'm sure they won't take, but obviously Greta Steinson has been a key guy, and he kind of floats about in the shadows a little bit, not given an official role, no official capacity, but he's highly influential and has been highly influential in some of the decision making that's gone on up until this point. I think you can also now, if I was them, I'd probably be looking at that and thinking, are we backing the right horse with this guy? Are we getting good information? Is his judgment good? Because you look at, he's also had a big hand in helping Parag out at Leeds United. Leeds United, great that they got promoted, but they've now, they're already getting dragged into the relegation issue at the wrong end of the English Premier League. That was always a high possibility, but it's not what they wanted. It's not what they'd planned for. So when you look at what's happening at Leeds, when you look at what's happening with Rangers, who now have to rebuild their executive level, you do wonder if they will still be going and just as ready to go on the recommendations and judgment of Greta Steinson, who I think it's fair to say has had a hand in all of the kind of key appointments, key decisions that Rangers have had to make since the American owners come in. That'll be interesting.
You mentioned the Rangers support there, Keith, and we've got Rangers fans getting in touch with us already, letting us know their thoughts. If you want to get involved in the conversation, please get in touch. You mentioned also, Keith, that we will have a really interesting update on Celtic's search for a new manager. Our colleague Michael Gannon has filed a new story this evening, which we can bring you up to date. And also in the comments, Mark says, can we sack VAR, please? We will have a resident referee, Des Roache, on to pour over some of the weekend's big refereeing talking points. Before we get to all that, though, I understand you cut up with Record Sports' Andy Newport a little bit earlier on today to get his take on the news from Ibrox. Shall we hear what he had to say?
Yes, let's do that.
Let's do that.
Andy Newport, nice quiet day in the Rangers beat.
Just another day in the Rangers soap opera.
Yeah, but I mean, staggering news came completely out of the blue, I think, this morning. I know you got a call when you were involved in a conference call with the chairman, Andrew Cavenagh. Did you have any indication before that phone went this morning that there was something brewing?
I'd heard several weeks ago that the two of them might have been on their way out. That was denied by the club at the time. But listen, it's no comes any surprise that this decision's been taken. Maybe not to Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. Maybe it might have come as a surprise, to those two, because we saw Kevin Thelwell doing a video with the club TV channel only last week talking about plans for January and how there'd be money made available, and the plans were well ahead to give Danny Rowe some support come the window opening. But I think anybody who's watched the chaos that these two individuals have presided over this season will have suspected that their days would be numbered at Ibrox. And it's listen, I think the club had no choice but to make this. Frankly, they couldn't allow Kevin Thelwell especially to oversee another transfer window, having presided over frankly a dismal recruitment drive in the summer. I've just been through.
It's a botched job.
I've just been through. I've just written something for the website that'll be going up shortly. Rating basically the 12 guys that they signed, and there's not one that you could argue has been an out-and-out success so far. There's a few of them that you can say the jury's still out on them, like some Mikey Moore, Jedi Gisama, Jaden Migoma, Derek Cavenagh. I think those guys you can say, listen, they might turn out to be decent performers in the long run, but it's still too early to assess them. But the rest have been major disappointments, and for the sums spent to get them here, that is ultimately what has cost Kevin Thelwell his job. Patrick Stewart has, I think it was a strange choice in the first place. Obviously, he came with that pedigree of having worked at Man United. I think the suspicion was that he was really brought in to oversee the sale process, being the sort of legal background to the new American owners. But in terms of being a figurehead, in terms of being somebody who has the gravitas and basically the people skills to
leadership qualities.
No, he was found wanting in those fronts really badly. I know that obviously the fans had their run-ins with him. Obviously, there was that statement that was aimed at a section of the support when a banner was unveiled. That did not go down well with the supporters at large. But even just these dealings with people who have been at the club, around the club for a long time, sponsors, corporate partners, I know that he rubbed a lot of them up the wrong way. So again, this just didn't come as a surprise to me. It's just I think the two of them have made a lot of people unhappy, if you want to say that way. They haven't made too many friends at Ibrox, I don't think.
No, look, this is something that had to happen. And I said from day one, I actually bored myself a little bit by saying I always felt things would get worse before they could get better under Andrew Cavenagh and American ownership. And I felt that Kevin Thelwell was a massive part of that, that there was no way of moving this forward until they actually figured out for themselves that this guy just wasn't meant for this parish. So I think these changes had to happen. I'm actually surprised, and kudos to Andrew Cavenagh for acting decisively. This is, I know Rangers fans have been protesting for months, but this feels quite swift nonetheless.
Obviously, I spoke with Andrew Cavenagh this morning, and he made the point that they had to do this in an order. So the first order, the most important thing to get sorted out was the managerial situation. Russell Martin's appointment did not work at all. They had to get Danny Rowe in. They had to stabilise results. Danny Rowe's done that now. Now that they've got these 4 wins in a row in the Premiership, they felt this was the chance to assess things higher up the club. But frankly, is that they gave him £40 million to spend in the summer, and it's gone, and there's not much hope of getting any of it back.
No.
So the prospect of giving him another chunk of money, however big or large that may be, come January, I think that would have just terrified the new owners. Obviously, listen, we know they're very wealthy men. They've come in with a big war chest, if you want to call it that. I think they would have thought £40 million would be enough to get this team competitive again. It's been nowhere near it, and it's going to take perhaps even bigger sums, because you look at the guys that they've lost, that they've allowed to walk out the doors, were said weren't good enough, but you're something like Cyril Dessers or a Hamza Gamani, to replace the guys with those kind of numbers, providing those kind of numbers is not going to be cheap. But they've spent so much money trying to do that, and it's all gone. It's wasted. So I think that was primarily why Kevin Thelwell had to go. There was no way that they could allow him to spend another big chunk of money in January.
Do you know what I find interesting, Andy, though? And it's been pointed out to me, and it's a good point. Strange to make this decision now, given that a few weeks ago, and I hear what you're saying about they had to get the sort of the timing right and address the manager situation, then move on and look up the stairs. But obviously Kevin Thelwell had a major part to play in the recruitment process, which led to the appointment of Danny Rowe, and which led to the failed attempts to go after your Kevin Muscats and Stephen Gerrard. And he was allowed to appoint his own son to the position of director of football. That doesn't quite fit in, does it? Why were you allowing him to have such an influence and make these key decisions when you'd kind of already kind of sussed out probably going to have to take his head off at some point?
I mean, it does look strange to me as well. I mean, Andrew Cavenagh was speaking to Sky as well this morning, and he sort of hinted that, they're aware of the fan anger around this whole thing, but that wasn't their driving force. I'm not so sure. I think they were aware that one more defeat this season would have sparked massive protests against them. I think they've decided that they've reached the end of the road with these guys. The interesting thing is that, as you say, Robbie Thelwell, Dan Purdy, I think it's Nathan Fisher as well that's come in as head of scouting, all of who are Kevin Thelwell's men. Purdy and Fisher had worked with him at Everton, obviously his son as well. They're still in post. And that for me is strange. If you don't trust Kevin Thelwell to do the job. Why are you trusting the guys that he's appointed? Clearly, they don't trust the players that he signed because they don't want to go down the route of bringing any more of them in. So it'll be interesting to see how long these guys stay in post. I think you'll find in a couple of weeks they'll be quietly nudged out the exit once they get the new man in to replace them. I think they have to have someone there in that recruitment side to assist Danny Rose, who goes into January. He does need somebody to run the numbers, to make contact with agents and clubs and things like that. It can't all be left to Danny Rowe. I think we've seen with Michael Beale, when he was obviously left in charge of a recruitment drive, it is a precarious business when you leave it to one man these days. I don't think they'll make that mistake again, but I think what you'll find is that Danny Rowe will have the ultimate say in anything that goes in or out of the club over the next few weeks, because frankly, these other guys, their track record doesn't suggest that they should have that trust or that authority and responsibility.
I think you're right, Andy. I think that they'll appoint a new sporting director. It'll be his job to look under the bonnet, decide who to keep, who not to keep. I'd be very surprised if any of these guys are there now for the long haul. I think they'll be following Kevin out the building very shortly. Is there any indication at this point, Andy, as to runners and riders who's likely to emerge as genuine candidates for this?
Well, not yet. I think the message we got from the club is that they will be. They know this is a big appointment. They are not going to rush it. They're going to take their time. They're going to obviously look to bring. I think the phrase was it quality candidates was the phrase used. Obviously, Fraser Thornton, the former chairman, who's remained in the board as a director post takeover, he's going to take over the sort of day-to-day CEO jobs, as we say. Dan Purdy and Nathan Fisher and Robbie Thelwell will remain to help on the sort of football recruitment side. But I think they know that they've obviously got some kind of plans in place for January. The next important thing is probably because there's acknowledgement that this season, you must say, looks largely like a write-off. If they don't get a result against Braga on Thursday night, I think you can pretty much say that's toast. In the Europa League, still an outside chance that they could get themselves back into a title race domestically, but that's still a big if. But I think that they're acknowledging the fact that they have to get their ducks in a row for the summer.
Andy Newport there, Keith. I mentioned we've got a plethora of comments coming in on the Rangers situation. I'll read a few of them out, if you're okay with that. Need to start with this one, though, from our friend Gianni. He says, Daniel Corr replacing Thelwell's son, I'm led to believe. I would like to put on record right now, I am not for sale. I'm going nowhere. Hotline live till I die. There you go.
That's what we like to hear. The only team you ever wanted to play for, Dan.
That's it. Arlene is delighted. She says, good evening, Keith and Dan. So glad they two are gone. Onwards and upwards. This from Rangers Is He OK says, that squad assembled for the money spent by Thelwell was an absolute disgrace. Stewart looked like a rabbit in the headlights in front of a camera. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Good on Cavenagh. Your Loyal Muppet says, finally Kavanagh's grown some cojones. Fair play to him. Let's hope the next director is Souness. Bob points out the Americans have made a pig's ear out of it. Keith, don't forget that. John points out who appointed Thelwell Senior in the first place. Paul says, as a Rangers fan...
Well, I think that's Patrick Stewart, which is probably why the door couldn't close quickly enough in his way out either. He ultimately has to carry the can for that appointment. I think that's probably the biggest factor. There's no excusing it. It's been catastrophically poor, hasn't it?
Yeah. Paul says, as a Rangers fan, let's hope Thelwell is employed soon, as we can sell Chermiti for 30 million since he was that good. Which a fair point. This one here from David, he says, I think the decision was made after the manager's assessment on the playing staff and the player quality was found wanting. I think that's an interesting point, Keith.
Yeah, it is an interesting point, and that was to be done ahead of the international break, wasn't it? Maybe there is something in that, but if they couldn't see with their own eyes, then that's problematic. Because and by the way, they're not dafties. These guys are really clever, astute business guys, and they must realise that they've effectively poured, I don't know what the numbers are, 20, 30, whatever, how many millions of pounds that they've thrown at this in the last 6 months to make the team immeasurably worse than it already was.
Yeah.
And, that can't have escaped their attention. The Chermiti deal was just ludicrous. The appointment of Thelwell Jr. I almost felt as if there were points where he was trying to get himself a payoff check. The decision making was so brazen and so upside down in logic that it was almost as if, look, Jink, I'll get away with this one, or I'm bound to get bagged after this.
Hold
As
my
if
beer.
he just couldn't. Yeah, and there was an element of that with Russell Martin as well. So there's a lot of guys now walking away with a lot of cash, having absolutely trashed the football operations at Rangers. So this is why what happens, as I said, I think that the easy bit was making this call, as much as reluctant as they probably would have been, because they wanted to give people the time and chance. But ultimately deciding that the axe had to fall, that's the easy bit. The real tricky bit now is making sure that they bring people of the right calibre in to fill these positions. And if they do that, they've given themselves a real opportunity. And this is something that needed to happen.
David Watson in the comments says David Weir should be a stick-on. That is one that does. I know it's a couple of people saying Souness, which I think is a bit far-fetched, but David Weir does seem to make sense to me.
Yeah, David Weir certainly would. He obviously spent that a lot of time at Brighton, and they've got one of the best sort of recruitment teams in British football. There's no doubt about it when you look at what they pick up, and I know it's a lot based on algorithms and data. But I think Rangers were trying to employ a sort of similar thing, using the 49ers kind of technology. So yeah, David Weir would be. I don't know. It'll be fascinating. What you did take from Andrew Cavanagh's statements today is this is something that and this is where I'm a little bit wary of saying it's because Danny Rawls put in a report saying, by the way, these players are rubbish.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me they've been going through an interview process. They've admitted as much. They've spoken to people. There are people that they've spoken to that are currently employed elsewhere and have notice periods. And Andrew Cavenagh said all that today. So that tells you that, as much as it came as a surprise, the timing of it this morning, I think it's something that these guys have been piecing together for a while. And I think they'll probably be quite far down the list of potential candidates for it. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I think one of the things he said was I think he said that Parag Marathan himself having analysed the club's needs, we think we need something different. I want to be really careful not to throw dirt at either of them, and he was. I think the world of them, but I no longer want any further contact. It seemed to be the sort of subtext to that.
No.
As I said to you, I would suspect, and especially from what he then subsequently said about having spoken to various people in various positions, it would make me believe that they're probably a little bit further down the line than anybody would have thought at this point.
And we've just been hit by a wave of people saying that David Weir, of course, has just taken up a position at Strasbourg, which I thought was I didn't know it was official. So there you go, finger on the pulse as always. There you go, happy I'm here all week.
I thought another interesting thing, Dan, was a quote: "Everyone who's contributing to the club has the chance to stay. Everyone is accountable." The chance to stay.
Yeah.
I don't fancy their chances. Dan Purdy, Thelwell Jr. I think I can understand you can't just go in and just kibosh the whole lot of them in one sitting.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that when the people that they are after are appointed, they will take a look around and say, "Who thought of that appointment? What is going on?" And here's how you go about properly building a football club and a recruitment department. And that again comes back to as so long as they do get the right people in this thing.
Yeah. We've had a lot of comments about Wilfred Nonsi, and we will come to that a little bit later in the show. We've also had comments, Keith, on VAR from the weekend and a lot of the refereeing decisions. Mark says Rangers are 4 wins in a row, courtesy of their main signing VAR. And Bob says, first of all, the Levy non-penalty, disgraceful. The best man to join us to talk about this, Keith, the one and only Des Roache. Des, how's it going?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
All relatively quiet. There's nothing much happening.
No, I thought it was quite a quiet day when my phone was so light today.
where should we start, Keith? I mean, I think the big
Well,
one.
let's start with the obvious one.
Yeah, Rangers.
Penalty to Livingston.
Yeah. What do you think, Des?
You don't even need to think. It's a penalty. 100% a penalty kick every day, all day, and twice on a Sunday, as folk would say. Yeah, it's a penalty. And it's probably up there, in my opinion, along with the Sean Rooney incident at St Mirren last season. I think that's potentially the worst VAR decision that we've seen.
Can you attempt to give us an explanation, Des?
Nope. Absolutely not.
Okay. Right,
Nope.
see you later, Des. Thanks, man.
I genuinely don't get where they're saying there was a deflection of the thigh onto the hand. Now, I've looked at it, and I know Willie said in his show a couple of weeks ago with Gordon Duncan, like, don't look at it. He doesn't want people to look at it forensically. You would need to look at that forensically to try and see if there's any take on it. There is none whatsoever. And is that not what VAR's there for? I can understand Ross Hardy not getting it in the natural state of play, but you're sitting in the VAR room with TV screens slowed down, multiple angles. That's what it's there for. And unfortunately,
I disagree with you. I think the referee's got to see that at real speed. I think that's just an easy decision for the referee to make on the pitch. Never mind with the benefit of the safety net of VAR. I think it's incredible. I have seen a clip. I have seen one angle where it did. There is a clip that makes it look as if the ball has come up off Fernandes. But it's the merest of touches. And even then, there's other angles like the one we've just put up there as a still, which make that look. Maybe a split second earlier. There's a slight deflection, but his hand is out, and I think that the explanation given to Livy was that his hand's just in a perfectly natural position there. The hand is moving towards the ball.
He stuck his hand out the ball.
I just on no basis can I understand why that decision.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Was taken on no basis. Des, why did not even just say? Why is John Beaton, who I think was VAR, why is he not calling the referee over to the screen to take a look for himself?
At the very least,
that's about to say. So I would have thought that if I was the referee, I would be thinking, oh, right, someone's there. They've got to have a look at it. So in that decision there alone, now I disagree with you, Keith. They're saying that the referee has got to see it. These things happen very quickly. I'm not admonishing him from it.
Everybody else in the stadium seemed to see it. This.
Aye, okay. Right, but that's not to say that Ross wasn't going down his ear to say whatever. However, what's got to be there and what's got to be taken from this, the fact that Ross Hardy has not been asked to come across to have an on-field review, John Beaton has been judge and jury there. Mm-hmm. He's basically said, no, nothing to look at, no penalty. I think that Ross Hardy, on reflection, looking at this, will feel pretty hard done to that he wasn't given that opportunity. Just as we said a couple of weeks ago regarding the incidents in the Old Firm game where Nick wasn't given the opportunity to look at it. But yeah, that's as clear a penalty as you're ever going to see. And if you look back also earlier on in the season, the Kilmarnock game where the Celtic Kilmarnock down at Rugby Park, a penalty was given for the ball striking off a teammate to come on. A deflection to come on to a Kilmarnock player. How can you be in control of what your teammate's body part is doing? I think it's entirely wrong.
I think you've hit on something there, Des, and I think it's a worry. At what point has this been a strategic decision made that VAR gets the final word, that VAR is actually more important than the match referee? Because you're right, that's exactly what happened when the VAR failed to send the referee, was it Nick Walsh, to the screen during the Old Firm game, and it's happened there again. It's like VAR now consider themselves to be the final arbiter. And I don't like that, and I don't think that's the way it was meant to be carried out.
It certainly shouldn't be. It's like any job. You've got a manager, you've got an assistant manager, you've got a coach. The manager has the final say on what players pick, players, etc. Mm-hmm. That should be the role of the match official is the sole arbiter. His decision is final, and I think it's negligible. So you can only look at it two ways. Are they being told that they shouldn't be getting called across the VAR, maybe because of how long it's taken? Well, that's wrong, because VAR's there to assist.
Well, we'll just get rid of VAR then.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that won't happen, though. That's just not going to.
No, but do you know what I mean? You take my point. What's the point in having the technology there if you're not going to use it properly?
Exactly.
I don't get it. And my real concern is, you know how sometimes some of your lot does, some of the referees, they get a bit of an ego, they get a bit above themselves. Other guys now sitting in VAR thinking, well, I know better. I know better than him. I should probably be out on that pitch. I'll make this call. Because that's not what they're there to do. And I'm struggling to find another reason that they would do that. That they say, well, I'll make this call. You're not the match ref.
Yeah.
You don't have that responsibility. I find it staggering.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I think there are a lot of referees who've been there for a while, who do have some sort of self thoughts of themselves, and how big they are and what they can do and what they're going to do to me, so to speak. But it should be there. If you're VAR, you're there to assist the referee. That's why it's called video assistant referee. You're there to provide assistance when a decision hasn't been made or a factual decision has to be overturned or highlighted. You then say, I would like you to come and review this. It's then up to you. The referee doesn't want it. Absolutely fine. We've got to be man enough and big enough to live and die by their own decisions. I think that we really need more guidance and more transparency from the SFA on what the VAR guidance now is, because we've seen it too many times. We've seen it too many times that the referee hasn't been called across, and the VAR is I've used that word, judge and jury.
Agreed. Right, next, Daniel.
Go on, Keith.
Well, I was going to say the goal that Rangers, the winner. I was listening to a commentary on BBC Radio Scotland, and what was described on the radio made it sound as if Miovski had just about levelled the Livingston goalkeeper to set up the chance. I think offside proves that was factual. It was onside.
Yeah,
when I saw the actual picture for myself, I didn't have a problem with Miovski's challenging the keeper. I thought the keeper was all over the shop. Don't know what he was doing, but I don't think there was any real issue with Miovski's challenge, was there? No.
When we spoke last night, and you mentioned the second goal, I thought, well, the offside, that's negatable because it's onside. And when you look at Miovski going through on the goalkeeper, yes, he's stretched to play the pass, but the Livingston goalkeeper's jumped above him with his legs spread
to the side. Yeah,
and the Livingston keepers came down on him. So absolutely nothing at all in that. It was a perfectly acceptable goal.
The other big talking point from the weekend, or certainly from the St Mirren Celtic game, your line up, it says the St Mirren goal was a goal. It was an own goal. I think, for the record, that they actually got this right. But can you talk us through it, Des? The Liam Scales own goal when it was 0-0.
So I agree. I think the decision's correct for offside. Now, when the ball initially comes through, McMenamin is in an offside position, which is fine. It's not illegal to be in an offside position. Where it becomes offside is the fact that he's made a motion to go towards Liam Scales and to go towards the ball. So therefore, he then makes himself active in the play. Now, only Liam Scales is the person that can tell you how much McMenamin's impact was in his peripheral vision or whatever, because he was making the act of striking the ball. But as soon as McMenamin has made that motion to go to the ball and decide to become involved active, then it has to be sanctioned as offside.
I mean, Keith, I agree with that. I mean, I think if McMenamin's not there,
I think he's a lucky boy.
You think so?
Scales a lucky boy there.
I think if McMenamin's not there, Scales doesn't. You can just knock it back to Schmeichel.
I don't. I think he's already committed to it. I think he's already doing it.
I agree. I think Scales is committed. But what McMenamin should have done is just hold his ground. If McMenamin doesn't move, then that's a goal for St Mirren.
I'm guessing he didn't know that he was offside, Des.
I would have thought so, no.
In that split second. But I'm not sure how aware or otherwise, as people keep saying, only Liam Scales could really tell you that. I think he was fully committed to that action, regardless of what else was going on. I think he got lucky there. But I agree, he does get involved. He does move towards the ball, McMenamin. and he was coming there from an offside position. But yeah, I think Liam Scales got away with one.
Interesting. So hang on, I think that was the right decision. You agree, Des?
Yes.
Keith, you're sort of swithering.
Well, I'm saying it's the right decision because McMenamin was offside. So yeah, technically, factually, that's the correct decision. McMenamin was going towards the ball, but I think if he's not there, if he was outside the penalty area, if he was nowhere near that, I think Liam Scales probably still does the same thing.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Our friend Kyle Gunn says, should that be subjective and Clancy sent to the screen?
No.
No. Because if he's offside, he's offside.
Yeah.
Aye.
No, because there isn't a part of subjectivity about that, isn't there? If you've got to decide as the match official, Des, is he interfering with play? Is he... Because as you said yourself, he can be offside there. The goal still stands. It's only what you said. The subjectivity is saying that by moving towards the ball, he affected what Liam Scales did.
Yeah, and that's what VAR has told him. VAR has told he started in an offside position, which is fine. But as soon as he makes that movement, he then becomes involved in active play. So it's got to be sanctioned by it. And obviously, Kevin's the referee. He's obviously been aware of it. So yeah, I don't know if I don't see any ambiguity in it. If McMenamin doesn't move, we're not talking about this. We're talking about an own goal. But McMenamin moves, and therefore he then makes himself active. He therefore makes himself that decision has to be made. It was only going to go one way.
Yeah, I'll give you that one then, Des.
Thanks.
The other big refereeing talking point came in yesterday's game as
and this one I'm interested in, Des.
Hearts suffered their first Premiership defeat of the season, but in the dying minutes as they pushed for an equaliser, Landry Kabore was clattered by Dimitar Mitov in the Aberdeen goal. I mean, well, I think I can guess what you thought of the incident, Keith, but Des, how did you see it?
I think it was well just putting the ball down where Kabore's feet is and just starting with the penalty right there and then.
But why, Des, and listen, I'm sorry, I'm not blaming you for all of this, but can somebody please explain to me why that didn't even merit a check on VAR? It's incredible.
Aye.
See, when you look at it there, the referee has got an unimpeded view of it.
Yeah,
He's staring at it.
straight through.
The referee can look at it. Now, again, at the time, I was busy dipping in and out the game yesterday. But as soon as I seen it, I thought, well, that's got to be a red card. He's launched himself. Jonathan Edwards would be happy doing a triple jump that far.
It is bizarre. Like, if that's an outfield player, there's no dispute. It's just a penalty.
Well, but that's why there should be no question about it. To me, it's a penalty kick. You just can't do that. And I know that keepers are overprotected as a species in general, but he's come for one, he's missed it, and then he's absolutely cleaned out Kabore.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until even during the commentary, nobody's really seemed to pick it. It was just, oh well, big clumsy goalkeeper. You can't get away with that. I was quite surprised James McFadden was trying to defend it, saying that, oh well, he can't pull out of it, and what's he meant to do? Well, you're not allowed to launch yourself, and that's the only way I can put it. He launched himself at it, and he was either taking a ball or taking a man. And no, that's a red card and a penalty. I don't think there'd be terribly much. Don't think there'd be too much fight back. I don't even think Aberdeen would appeal it if it was given. Mm-hmm.
I think we can all agree on that one. I think, to be fair,
Des has gone even harder than me. I was just looking for the penalty kick there, but red card as well. And you're probably right. It probably is.
Aye, probably. But just before we let you go, Des, we've got tons of comments coming in. Too many, actually, to get through. But thank you for sending all the comments on VAR and the refereeing decisions. But I will finish with this because I feel like we go around in circles a wee bit. Keith, I don't know what you think. Mark says, the bottom line is we spend more time complaining about VAR than the mistakes that brought it in originally. Pointless. And I do feel like when we have Des on, it does feel that way. I feel like VAR is creating more controversy than it's solving.
Well, I heard the Motherwell manager talking about it earlier and saying that he still welcomes it. He thinks it cuts out a lot of cheating, a lot of the sort of stuff inside the penalty box that might go unnoticed to the naked eye, can get picked up. Look, I agree. I've been a supporter of VAR since it was rolled out because I think that if it's used correctly, it should make the game better. It should be there, used as a tool to clear up key game-changing decisions. And I welcome all of that. Why wouldn't you? You need that. If you can get that clarity, you should welcome it. The issue isn't so much with the technology, as people keep saying as well. It's with the people that are operating it.
Yeah.
And again, how many times are we going to call for Willie Collin to come out and provide clarity? Because we keep asking for it. He keeps coming out. He keeps saying, "Well, it's made a mistake there." What are they doing about it? Actually, it's now looking like gross incompetence from our officials, because they should be on top of this by now. They should be better at it.
Well, if you think about it, so we're involved in the football industry. You, Daniel, myself, we're all football fans. We're watching it. We see what's going on. We've seen managers lose positions because of the way teams are operating. We keep hearing about Willie. We'll use this as a coaching tool. We'll use this as a coaching method. We've now got a specialist VAR manager who's in, Martin Atkinson, ex-FIFA referee. We don't hear from him. What coaching is taking place? What are they being told? Why are we still making fundamental errors that you and I and my 10-year-old can watch and say, that's a foul? But guys who are getting handsomely paid and coached, to me, the coaching is not working, or you're not a very good coach. And B, are referees following the letter of instruction, or are they just doing what they want? There's got to be
starting to sound very much as if Des is calling for Wee Willie's head to roll.
No, not yet.
Not yet. And just Rebel in the comments points out, imagine Livy get relegated in goal difference. I mean, do you know what I mean? You look back at that, that's mad.
It's not even goal difference, is it? It could have been the difference between a defeat and a draw.
Absolutely. Time is getting away from us, Des, but thank you so much for joining us on the Hotline Live as ever. I love having Des on, Keith, as you know. I love my Des corners. But thank you, Des, for joining us. It's been great having you on again.
No problem at all, guys. Speak to
you soon. Des.
Cheers, guys.
The one and only Des Roache there, Keith.
Good value.
Absolutely. I love having him on after
He's a bit militant tonight, wasn't he, Des?
No, but I like that. Des doesn't take any prisoners. Do you know what I mean?
No, he's wanting red cards dished out all over his shop, sending off penalties.
I very rarely disagree with this, to be honest. So there you go. We need to finish up. We teased it a little bit earlier on that our esteemed colleague Michael Gannon had an update on Wilfred Nancy's potential proposed appointment as Celtic manager.
Well, it's not. There's a great deal further down the line than that. They will be appointing Wilfred Nancy. And as Mick writes, after a week battling it out with Columbus Crew over compensation. So basically, that Mick is saying that's what's caused the delay. Over 10 days now, they've been in advanced talks with Nancy. They got the personal terms all thrashed out and agreed within 48 hours. But the delay, the kind of lag has been caused as Columbus Crew are obviously looking to take as much of Celtic's money as they possibly can get their mitts on. However, what I thought was really interesting in Mick's piece is saying discussions were also further complicated by Nancy's hopes, bringing in some of his crew backroom staff to Scotland, including assistant Kwame Ampadu, along with first-team analyst Max Taylor and fitness chief Jules Guegan. Coach Jon Darnett could also be involved, but sources in the US suggest former LA Galaxy man could be in the running for the top job that Wilfred Nancy's leaving. Where I think it becomes interesting in terms of the potential timeline is that Mick says Nancy is expected to be in town by the weekend, and he could be in the stands at Easter Road with a view to taking over on Monday. Wow. So that tells you how close it is now. It is imminent. It could be a boots on the ground job before the weekend, with Wilfred Nancy actually going through to Edinburgh to clap eyes on Celtic from the main stand. I think that'll be Martin O'Neill's last game in charge of his interim period. So clearly it's starting to move, and you would expect it will move really quickly now going into the next few days.
I get that. I mean, none of us really watch MLS that often, Keith. But John says, what does Nancy know exactly about Scottish football? How do you feel about the appointment? I mean,
I
as
think
I say,
it's a punt.
you think so?
I think it's a huge punt. But you know what? Sometimes they pay off. And you only need to look at Ange Postecoglou and the impact he had in Scottish football. But yeah, this is different. Ange Postecoglou had a
An
big
impressive
body of
CV.
evidence built
Aye.
up over the years in international football. He'd won trophies in other countries' leagues.
Went to the
You know,
World Cup.
and he was a good old age by the time that he got to the Celtic position. There's the element which is different here is that, you know, Nancy's only been a manager for 4 years. He hasn't experienced anything other than the MLS. And so for all those reasons, you have to class it as there is a bit of a gamble in here. As we know, whether it's as a player, whether it's as a sporting director, thanks Kev, or whether it's as a manager, coach, Glasgow's different. The environment here is different, and it doesn't suit everybody, and not everybody can cope with it. So that will be another tester of his temperament. I think there's a lot for Celtic fans to be excited about because people talk well about him and what he's done and how he's impressed, and the fact that clubs in France have been looking about. But I can't deny you'd be a fool to say that this is a sure thing. That this is destined to be a success. There's a big element of risk to this appointment. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Well, you know, whatever happens in the coming days and weeks, we will have you covered here on the Hotline Live. But for now, I think that brings us to the end of tonight's show. Just before I wrap up, Keith, Chris Fraser, you might remember, he is our viewer that is, I think he's in Houston, Texas. He says, Dan,
Right.
getting the mansion ready for the World Cup. And you remember he did offer me a place to stay. That's a binding contract. So, Chris,
Yeah.
I will send you my details. If you can get me from the airport, that'd be great. We'll pick that up later on. Cheers, Chris.
And me and Scott are in a camper van.
I'm using
You
the camper van.
genuinely
aye.
think that's going to happen, Dan? Never
Chris-
going to happen.
Chris has said mansion a few times. Listen, I'm getting my hopes up. That's all I'm saying. But for now, that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for all your comments. We massively appreciate it. Keith, it's always a pleasure.
And you, Dan, good to see you.
You too. And we'll be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow night to do it all again. Hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.